He needs no introduction. Troy Aikman, Hall of Fame quarterback, Dallas Cowboys, is here. First of all, Troy, let's talk about why you're here. There are a lot of counterfeit tickets out there, aren't there?
Yeah. Well, there are, and there has been for a long time, especially in the postseason, and now as we lead up to the big game, there's a lot of counterfeit tickets, and I've been talking about it now for a while. The NFL has partnered with Ticketmaster. It's the NFL Ticket Exchange. It's the only one that is backed by the NFL, and people are spending a lot of money. There's been stories even this week about people who have spent a lot of money thinking they're going to get a ticket to the big game, and it's been a counterfeit ticket. And so, if you're going to do that, you're best off then buying it on a secondary market that is backed by the NFL, and you don't have any risk of getting a counterfeit ticket. So it's a good program that they have, and you can go to NFL.com/ticket exchange to learn more.
We've been talking on our show today about great Super Bowl performances, and 4 touchdowns in Super Bowl XXVII. That was a pretty good performance. I have heard, though, that before that game, as that game was kicking off, I think you've even said it, that you were like hyperventilating. Look back on that. What was that like?
Well, it was we were the youngest team in the league, at the time, and I was very calm and relaxed the day before the game, leading up to the game, the bus ride over to the stadium, and more calm than I really had been before any other game, and I was happy about that, because you obviously, as a quarterback especially, you realize, the magnitude of that game and what it means. And
absolutely.
And then they did player introductions, and I came running out of the tunnel, and then that's when it kind of hit me for the first time, just how big this thing really was, and the pageantry and the electricity in the air. And, it was hard for me to catch my breath, and I wasn't alone. I mean, I was calling plays in the huddle, and guys couldn't get lined up, and we were a mess. We were just a bunch of young guys out there, just thinking, "Oh my gosh, what have we gotten ourselves into?" And we got behind early. It looked like it was going to be a blowout, but we were going to be on the wrong end of it. And as it turned out, we were able to regroup, and it was a big night, a big win for us, and one that I'll always remember.
Are we seeing a shift in the quarterback position in the National Football League? Are we witnessing a seismic shift right now?
I don't know. I mean, we're certainly seeing more guys with the ability to be great runners, but I think the common thread with all of those guys is they're quarterbacks that can run. They're not running quarterbacks, and I think there's a distinct difference. These guys can throw from within the pocket. They've proven that. It'd be unfair to them to call them running quarterbacks, and so we've seen guys like that in the past. I mean, Fran Tarkenton was a guy like that. Randall Cunningham,
that,
Roger Staubach, and then, of course, Steve Young. And Joe Montana was a guy who could really run when he first came into the league. So I think what we're seeing, though, that has been different is offenses willing to kind of put those guys at risk to a certain degree because of the read option and the things that they're doing there. And that's what I'm interested in seeing if it continues. If they'll continue to expose the quarterback with some of the read option plays. We saw what happened to Robert Griffin there in Washington this year, getting hit a lot. I think these defensive coordinators are really good, and they're going to have some answers for that this next year.
All right, let's talk about the Cowboys. What's positive about the Cowboys right now? What can fans like about this team?
Well, I think the positive is Tony Romo's their quarterback, and I happen to believe that he's a special player. And so the fact that you have a guy like him who's a playmaker and you can build things around is a positive, as opposed to, trying to go out right now and locate a quarterback. But they're going through a lot of changes, a lot of staff changes this offseason. This team has been close. The last 2 years they go into Week 17 with a chance to win and then win the division and get into the postseason. Of course, they've lost both of those games, but they've been very close. And now to blow up the staff, time will tell as to whether or not that was a good thing for this club.
All right, now let's shift gears. What's negative? What's not to like about them right now?
Well, I think there's some positional needs is what has to happen for them. I think the biggest problem for the Cowboys this past year was that they couldn't remain healthy. I mean, they lost a number of key players on the defensive side of the ball. They didn't run the ball particularly well. DeMarco Murray, was banged up. The offensive line was reshuffled. No team that I was a part of, really no team that I know of that I can think of offhand that's had great success has had an inefficient offensive line. And so that's an area that has to get better. They've got to protect Tony Romo better. I think those are areas that have to be addressed this offseason. Otherwise, we'll probably be talking about the same things a year from now.
Has Jerry put Jason in a very, very tough position?
I think so, yes. And, there's been a lot of changes. Jerry's been very vocal about those changes that have been made. I haven't heard a lot from Jason Garrett as to whether or not he was on board with all the changes that occurred. And anytime that happens, I think that it certainly puts the head coach on notice, and it's put him in a difficult position. But whether or not they're able to go on and have success at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Again, we'll have to wait and see.
Larry Allen, first ballot guy. What do you? I mean, is there any question that he goes into the Hall
there's
of
not
Fame?
in my mind. I mean, I would be shocked if he doesn't go in, and I'm really hesitant to get into those types of conversations because of what the Hall of Fame represents. But having played alongside him for so many years, I know what kind of player he was and how deserving he is. The guy who I'm hopeful gets in, who's been a finalist for each of the last several years, is Charles Haley, and a guy who I think is very deserving.
Troy Aikman with us today. Thanks a lot, Troy.
You bet. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.